Yo, what up, people? This is Jay Allen, Gangsta Holistic, and this is Gangsta with My Health, okay? Where we talk to everyday people about some of the challenges that they have, and we try to help people out there. So today we got a special guest in the building.
I'm Nikki J, and this is how I got gangster with my health.
Yeah, all right, for
Um,
sure, for sure. So let's
um,
go ahead and we just gonna talk to you and let you kind of tell your story on, some of the things that you've been through. And I'm just gonna, maybe kind of interject here and there if I got some questions. How that sound?
that's cool. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Shoot, diabetes type 2.
Type
Um, type 2, basically, I had gestational diabetes with my last two children,
Can
and
you tell people what that is? Tell if people out there don't really know what that is. Tell them what that is.
gestational. Gestational diabetes is basically when you develop diabetes during pregnancy. And sometimes people keep it after the baby, and sometimes it goes away, but it puts you at a higher risk to develop it later on in life if you're not careful. So that pretty much was my story. The first time I developed it was with my third pregnancy, but it was not showing up in my blood work or in my urine. So I went to the hospital, then I went to a follow up, and then boom, my sugar was high, and they put me in the hospital, and they ended up having to do an emergency C-section.
Let me ask you this. Let me
Um,
ask you this. Oh, you having it on like both of your pregnancies? Was there anything that actually caused that? Like what did they say actually caused that?
well, it was my last two because I have four children, so it was
Okay.
my last two pregnancies. Um, I don't quite remember them saying that it's something that caused it, but I will let you know that diabetes is in like both sides of my family. So, sometimes when things run in your family, you're at higher risk. Does that make sense to you?
With gestational diabetes, yes. Type two, I would
Okay.
say no. I wouldn't say no about that. We're gonna go on that later. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna
Okay,
go about on
that's
that later.
cool. Okay, cool. But it's just it happens.
Right.
But so pretty much after that, it went away. 3.5 years later, I'm pregnant again. I got it. They caught it early on. After I had the baby, it was over, and that was
So Nikki, let me
2007.
ask you this real quick. What type did you experience any type of symptoms? While like you know how sometimes when something is going on with your body, something's going wrong. So did you have that
Definitely.
type of feeling, and what type of symptoms were you having?
Are you talking about during the pregnancy,
Yes.
or okay? So during the pregnancy with my son, 2000, I was extremely thirsty.
Mm.
I was feeling, they say lightheaded, but it almost, you know how you have a drink, but you're not quite drunk, but you just buzzed and you feel good. That's what I was
Okay.
feeling. And my breath was terrible. I'll be
Oh my
honest, my
goodness.
breath was terrible. Yeah, yeah, that's one of the things. And,
Really?
and it was terrible. And I remember I was in the car, my auntie, she's like, oh, what is that? Something smell like blankety blank. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I didn't know. No, but that's not what she's been. Then so when I went to the doctor and they explained the symptoms, and
Okay.
I understood what the deal was. So yeah, those were the symptoms.
Okay. Okay.
And so that was during the pregnancy. When it came back, um, I was lightheaded, thirsty, and one thing that you do, another symptom is you basically run into the bathroom, you're peeing a lot, and this is because when your sugar is off balance, your body cannot absorb calories. So whether you're eating or drinking, you just peeing and you peeing and you peeing, and that causes you to lose weight.
Mm.
So that's what happened.
Okay, so let
And
me ask you this. So after your pregnancy, um, because okay, so people out there, okay, she had gestational diabetes. She also had a challenge with type two diabetes as well. Now let me ask you this. After did you find out about the type two diabetes before or after the pregnancy? And what I want to ask you as well is, did if so, did the if it was after, did that gestational diabetes does that have something to do with the type two coming in? Does those two correlate or no?
I wouldn't put those two together.
Okay.
I just think that like you're at higher risk if it run in your family. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay.
So by me developing gestational, um, I was at higher risk, which is why the doctor said, be careful, stay on top of your eating, do this, do that. And I did it for a while, and then I got comfortable, and then it came back for me.
Right, right. Okay.
So
So,
yeah.
so okay. So, at what point after your pregnancy did you find out about the type 2 diabetes?
I had my daughter in 2007. I didn't start getting those symptoms until early 2010. Early,
2010. And
early 2010.
what type of symptoms would you say that you were experiencing?
I was extremely thirsty, lightheaded. I was peeing a lot, and sometimes you're hungry a lot too. So I was extremely hungry, and like when it was happening, I knew what it was,
Mm.
but I was in denial. I'll be honest with you. I was in denial, and I was more so like, I'm not accepting this. I'm not accepting this. And so I'm thinking by me not going to the doctor, that was going to make it go away.
Mm.
So it took me like 2 months to actually go to the doctor. And I already knew what it was. When I walked in, I just told my doctor, this is what it is. I know that's what it is. What we going to do? I was in there choosing my own medication because at the time I was a pharmacy tech, so I already knew what was up on the medication. So I'm like, yeah, so give me this, 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 and this. So that's how that
So,
happened.
look. So let me say something about medication. Now, I was on the verge. There was a point where I didn't have any type of diabetes. Then I started going to the doctor for, the complications I had with my heart. So he started giving me certain medication. And then one doctor visit, he tells me that I'm a pre-diabetic, and I'm trying to figure out where all this stuff came from. I've never heard that I was a pre-diabetic before. So where is this coming from? And he's kind of playing dumb to me, like, oh, well, I don't know, these things happen and all this kind of shit, right? But when I actually went and go do my research on some of the medication that he was giving me, some of this stuff was like spiking my sugar. You know what I mean? It was like elevating my levels, and it was pushing me into a diabetic state. So,
I that.
what I did is I actually had to combat that. And of course, a lot of people out there know, as far as with diabetes, I mean, as far as like eating, processed food is just pretty much no good. You know what I mean?
Right,
Being
right.
in a box, a bag, or a can. So when I changed my diet and I stopped, I weaned myself off of that medication and started implementing some natural stuff, everything just kind of came full service. That was no longer in place. So it's like, it's
Right.
really amazing. And I tell people all the time, like, it's so interesting how sometimes we do go to the doctors, and the doctors, they give us, certain medication, X, Y, and Z, and sometimes we just pop it in our mouth. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it do. We just, you know, me personally, I don't have that much trust in nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got
Well,
to definitely do my own, I got to do my own research, my own, because a lot of this stuff, it will help one thing, but it's definitely going to harm another. That's just a fact. Now, I will say this. There are certain extreme cases where, people, because the thing about naturopathic medicine, natural alternatives and things like that, they take a lot longer to work than just a medication, right? So a medication
right,
can make it,
right.
medication can maybe heal something 2 3 days, a week, 2 weeks. Where as far as this natural stuff, you have to be a lot more consistent with it. As far as like, I mean, I know when I was doing my thing uh, with like the black seed oil and the hawthorn berry, it took about 6 months of consistent, very consistent uh, intake of that stuff for me to actually see some big results. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
let me let you go finish. Go ahead and talking
Look,
about
look,
your
I
journey.
wanted to tell you something when you were saying about medication and how people just pop things in their mouth.
Yeah.
So when I got diagnosed, they automatically gave me medication for cholesterol and high blood pressure. And I took it. I was like, I don't need this shit. And I told my doctor, I said, I don't need this. I don't have high cholesterol. I don't have high blood pressure. And she was explaining to me how all this stuff go hand in hand.
It
But
does.
but guess
Okay.
what? We checking my labs. They monitoring my blood pressure. I take like the medication I had to get my sugar under control. I didn't never need blood pressure medication. My cholesterol is fine. My blood pressure is fine. And I just told her like, hey, I'm not taking this shit.